हारा तो छोड़, दूसरों के
Hi. Hi. Hi, Giselle. Can you please switch on your video?
Good evening, ma'am.
Just give me a minute. Just give me a minute.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Can you hear any background noise, or is it very clear to you?
I can hear background noise, but I can hear you properly.
So the background noise is very much, or it's less?
It's there. I can hear it.
Okay. Just a second. Just a minute.
Yeah.
Cut the- Giselle, can you hear in the background noise of the people, or you can hear some other noise? It's people's noise. Okay, okay, give me one.
Actually, no, जो वीडियो होगा ना, this will be uploaded online. So
Okay, चल तो रहा है वैसे.
क्या है नीचे का यहाँ का पासवर्ड क्या है?
बड़ी बैठा हूँ।
ठीक है, thank you. Hi Giselle, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, how is the internet connection? Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, but your I cannot see you. Your video has got paused. Yeah, now it's fine. Okay.
What about now?
Huh?
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Is it okay?
Nothing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have the practice sheet with you?
It's the one, the weekly mocks, right? Legal aptitude question
Yes.
bank.
Yes. The first question in this
Okay, yeah.
sheet is a defense is a state of affairs, which results in complete removal of liability.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see the first question. Any question that you have faced any problem?
The last set of questions I didn't understand very well, so I got two wrong over there.
Two wrong. Okay. Which are these questions that you got wrong?
The 10th and 11th.
10th and 11th. Okay, okay. So you have problem with extradition treaty. Okay, okay. Let's see the first.
Yeah.
First, read out the principle.
Principle 1, a defense is a state of affairs which results in complete removal of liability.
Right.
Principle 2, volente non fit injura is a defense and may be pleaded if the person complaining put himself in a dangerous situation.
Okay.
Principle 3, a dangerous situation is defined as any situation in which a person may get run over by a motorized vehicle.
Okay.
Principle 4, no situation is dangerous if there is a last minute opportunity available to the person injured. Such an opportunity is said to exist if another person is standing within earshot distance.
Okay. Okay. Now, what did you understand by this, and how much do you know about voluntary non-fit injuria?
I understood that this voluntary non-fit injuria is a defense that the person that's being prosecuted can use if the victim has put himself in that situation. So, like, it's not really the defendant's fault.
Okay. Can I
And
know the meaning of voluntary non-fit injuria? No. Okay. How many topics have you studied in TOTS?
I haven't started TOTS yet.
You haven't started. What subject are you studying right now?
I was actually doing logical reasoning, but now I've just started with legal aptitude. So I finished the first topic.
You finished the first topic. Okay. And which is the first topic?
The IPC, Indian Penal Code.
Indian Penal Code 1860. Okay. Okay, Giselle. I'm just facing you might have noticed that I'm a little distracted. I'm distracted because of the background. So do you
It's
know how
okay.
to change the wallpaper on the Zoom?
No.
Okay. Okay. That's the problem because I think this video vlogpreneurs need it. And I don't know how to change, and there are certain things coming in the background. That's why, and I'm wasting your time. I'm very sorry for that. Okay.
It's okay.
Okay, I'll start like this only. Okay, now tell me how much. So you told me that you don't know about voluntary non-fit injuria much. So first I'll give you an introduction to the topic. See, since you have solved the question paper and you have only made you got only 2 wrong questions, that means you know the art of solving the questions, right? That's a good thing. But since the concepts are not clear, that is not very good, but it's okay since you have only started. It's just the beginning, so that's okay. But when we go to write the exam, generally we want that we are clear about 80% of the topics, that we know about them. Even if the question is from constitution, we know, okay, this is what it is talking about, and if there is something different, okay, then we will put our logical mind there. This is the art of solving paper in it. Now, the first question given in your practice sheet is regarding voluntary non-fit injuria. Now, as you correctly said, that this is one of the defense that is given in the torts, or the plaintiff gives the defendant gives this as a defense, right? Now, there are certain defenses given in tort subject. The first one is voluntary non-fit injuria. Then there is act of God. I'm sure you would have heard about act of God in various movies and places. Then there are like plaintiff's his own fault or the act of stranger. These are the defenses. Coming back to the main topic, that is voluntary non-fit injuria. Now, voluntary non-fit injuria, you have to see the maxim. This is a maxim and you should know the meaning. So voluntary means voluntary. So one who consents for any risk, one who voluntarily consents for any risk, cannot complain later on when he faces or when he gets injured. When he faces any problem or he gets injured. The best example of this is when people go and watch a match and you're a spectator. Suppose, for example, you are going to a place where there is a cricket match happening, okay? Or you are going to a place where an auto racing is happening. Now, as a spectator, when you go and sit there, what do? You voluntarily consent for that, right? So anything, if something happens, suppose somebody is hitting the ball with the bat and the ball comes and hits your head, then tomorrow you cannot go and sue the people who are managing that cricket game which is running, or the people or the players, those who are playing. Why can't you do that? Because you have consented for it. There was an implied consent. So consent is also of 2 types. One is express and one is implied. Express means you write it on a paper or you say it very clearly that, okay, I consent for this. That is something happens. When you go to doctor and the operation is done, you sign a paper, right? You give your express consent that if anything happens, I will not sue the hospital or I will not hold the hospital liable. Right? That's your express consent. But when you go to places like these, where suppose you're going to watch a match or such places, then you don't say it, but there is an implied consent that you know that there is a certain risk involved in this activity, but you have consented to take it. Okay, that is what is about voluntary non-fit injuria. So now, can you just give me a gist of what you have understood from these lines that I have just said?
That it is a voluntary non-fit injuria is a defense that is used when the victim is consenting to be in like a dangerous situation.
Okay.
And the consent could be either expressed or written down.
Right. Okay.
And
Now, what is this consent about? The first thing that you should explain me that, ma'am, this is the meaning of voluntary non-fit injuria.
voluntary means voluntary.
Voluntary means
So,
voluntary.
It means that the person is consenting to, if he gets injured, he cannot sue the place.
Okay. 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 So somebody who voluntarily consents for something cannot sue later. Okay. Giselle, is any background noise coming now?
Oh.
No. Okay. Now let's go back to the question. We'll go back to the question, okay? The first principle that you read was a defense is a state of affairs which results in complete removal of liability. Okay. The second one is voluntary non-fit injuria is a defense and may be pleaded if the person complaining put himself in a dangerous situation. Now let's examine first two principles. The first principle is a defense is a state of affairs which results in complete removal of liability. So you got to know that it's a defense which removes all the liability from the person on whom anything is alleged. The second principle, again, it says that it is a defense and pleaded if the person complaining puts himself in a dangerous situation. Okay. The third question is, what is a dangerous situation? A dangerous situation is defined as any situation in which a person may get run over by a motorized vehicle. Now see, voluntary non-fit injury is just not restricted to that. It is just a part of it which has been taken and put here. So if what happens in the question paper is that they will take some small part of the entire concept and they'll make it a principle. And when they give you that one line in the principle, that is your mantra. Okay, that is all that is for you. In all this process, you have to forget whatever I have taught you. I just taught you what is voluntary non-fit injuria. I taught you about auto racing car. That's only the concept that you have in your head. But right now, what you have, there are 4 principles. These should be on your fingers. You should know them and you should only apply them. So here, the dangerous situation is defined. Any situation in person may get run over by the motorized vehicle. Now, in your mind, you would be thinking that this cannot be solely a dangerous situation. There can be many other situations which can be called dangerous, right? This question can come up in your mind. Did you think about it when you were reading it?
Yeah.
Okay. See, it will definitely come into your mind that why they have restricted it to this situation. Whatever they are doing in the principle, that is for us the principle for us. That is the law for us for now. And you have to understand, as I told you in the previous lecture, that what they want to check is your common sense. Okay, so for us right now, dangerous situation is only the situation where a person may get run over by a motorized vehicle. We will not think, okay, this should also be there, what if, what not, and anything. Okay, this is all that we know. Fourth principle, no situation is dangerous. Now they're saying what is not dangerous. No situation is dangerous if there is a last minute opportunity available to the person injured. So the situation is not dangerous if there is a last opportunity available. Such an opportunity is said to exist if another person is standing within earshot distance. Now principles are cleared. Now we go to the facts. The facts are that there is a girl called Ghazal who is fond of evening strolls. One day, while she was walking on the national highway on a sunny afternoon to cross over the garden nearby, as she was walking by, a friend of hers said hi to her, and she replied with a wave. At this precise instant, a cycling enthusiast ran over her with his bicycle. She lost balance and was run over by a motorcycle coming in her direction. Now see, when I was reading this, I was reading while taking lot of pauses. And still I would say that I was reading little fast because the time span that we have for this meeting is less. But while you are solving the question paper, you have to read it very slowly initially, not in the examination. And you have to read even the principles very slowly, because when you read them slowly, then only you will then only you will understand it. That is what, when you're studying law, when you're preparing it and you're seeing the lectures, the videos, there also I've mentioned time and again that always read the law slowly. Okay, that's how you get it. Okay, now Giselle, let's go to the question. What would, okay, you read the question. I would want you to answer because since you have got all right.
What would make being run over by the bicycle a dangerous situation? being run over by a bicycle constitutes a dangerous situation per se. If the bicycle was motorized, being run over it would become a dangerous situation. If the bicycle was big and made of hard metal, being run over it would be a dangerous situation. Or facts are insufficient to comment.
Okay. Now, what is the
So
right
the answer would be B.
The answer would be B.
B.
If the bicycle was motorized, being run over by hit would become a dangerous situation. Now, why did you answer? Why did you choose B?
Um, uh, so this is according to principle 3, where it is specifying motorized vehicle. So since a bicycle isn't a motorized vehicle, A wouldn't be the answer.
Very good.
And C, big and made of hard metal is also not motorized.
Mm-hmm.
But if the bicycle was motorized, then it would become a dangerous situation.
Very good. Very good. So you have aptly put the principle here. Very well done. Now let's move to the second question. Read out the second question.
Did Ghazala have a last-minute opportunity available to her? No, she had a last-minute opportunity. B, because the person who said hi to her was within earshot distance, so that would be according to principle 4.
Okay, what is principle 4 say?
That if someone is standing within earshot distance,
Right.
The victim has a last minute opportunity available to them. So
Okay.
that situation isn't dangerous.
Okay, very well done. Let's move to 3. Question number 3.
Could Ghazala be said to have put herself in a dangerous situation? A, yes, as she was passing a highway, because the facts say that she was on a national highway.
Okay.
So there will be vehicles over there, and so that is according to principle 2, where the person complaining has put himself in a dangerous situation.
Okay. Now, from where did you pick up this? Did you use your logical sense? Did you use the principle? Or how did you come to the conclusion of passing a highway?
I eliminated the other choices
You eliminated.
because
Let's eliminate.
she was in a dangerous situation because she was passing a highway, so all the no options are not
And
there.
how was she passing?
And she was walking on a highway for an evening stroll, and highways are usually there are motorized vehicles.
Good.
And
Good.
there are vehicles, so that is a dangerous situation. And the other option was yes, as she was going for a walk, so that isn't a dangerous situation. The fact that she was on a highway was the dangerous situation.
Okay, very well done. Let's move to question number 4.
If Ghazala brings an action against the motorcycle driver, can he plead the defense of voluntary non-fit injuria? Yes. A. Yes, as Ghazala did put herself in a dangerous situation.
Ghazala did put herself in a dangerous situation. Okay. So how did you come to this conclusion? Why? Why do you mark answer A as your answer?
The second one is no. According to the previous question, she was in a dangerous situation by passing on a highway.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it wasn't the motorcyclist's fault or the bicyclist. And yes, the cyclist has caused the real damage.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't really her fault. She was also saying hi to her friend, so she got distracted.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't looking out when she was walking on a highway.
Mm-hmm. So you are saying that it was not actually her fault, right? It was not actually Ghazala's fault. This is what you're trying to tell me?
No, it was her fault because she she went to walk on a highway, and then instead of at least being careful, she was waving out to a friend also. So I think I got this answer from the previous question also, that she had put herself in a dangerous situation.
Okay, she has put in a little. Now let's go to the question and let's see what do you understand from the question. Read the question again and tell me what does the question say.
If Ghazala brings an action against the motorcycle driver, can he plead the defense of voluntary non-fit injuria? So this motorcycle driver is the second person that hit her.
Is the second person that hit her? How do you say that he's the second person?
A cycling enthusiast ran over her with his bicycle. She lost balance and she was run over by a motorcycle.
Okay.
So she was run over by two people.
Okay.
So no, the motorcyclist was at fault. If someone just falls in the middle, they might lose their balance. And no, the cyclist was not driving a motorized vehicle. Is also not, so that doesn't constitute as a dangerous situation for the defendant.
Okay, so that does not constitute as a dangerous situation for the defendant. And that's why you say that voluntary non-fit injuria principle should be applied. So now let's break it. According to you, Giselle, you are saying that since she was driving on the highway, but that's not your main contention. Your main contention is that since the motorcyclist was the second person to hit her and she was already run over by the cyclist before, so you would not make the motorcyclist as faulty, right? Because you are saying that it was not his fault at all.
No. I am saying that it was Ghazala's fault.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was Ghazala's fault for sure. But I'm saying from the side, I'm asking from the side of the defendant, you think that defendant should not be held guilty because motorcyclist was the second person to hit.
Yes.
Right? Just hold on for a second. Okay. Okay, there's a background noise, Giselle.
Yeah, it's a little, but it's fine.
Okay.
It stopped.
Okay. Now, see. Your answer is right, what you have selected, but you are not actually right when you try to relate the question and the answer. I'll tell you why. The answer is right because if we see the previous question and if we analyze it, then yes, Ghazala had put herself in a dangerous situation by driving at a place which was not by walking at a place which was not suitable for walking, right? Now the question is that when she files a case against the defendant, can defendant take the plea that, look, Ghazala had voluntary non-fit injuria. So can he take the defense of voluntary non-fit injuria that, look, Ghazala herself took the risk and I cannot be held liable for the same, or she cannot claim damages for the same. Can he say that? This is the question. The question is not around that whether he was the second person or he was the first person. Why? See, now you have got distracted from the principle and you have got distracted from the facts. You have to stay there. Okay, the art is staying there. When they're talking about voluntary non-fit injuria, that means your answer should be around voluntary non-fit injuria. But your answer was not around voluntary non. You were trying to explain me a concept where there's a secondary person who is hitting Ghazala, and that's why you're telling me that he should not be held liable. But here the answer should have been that, look, Ghazala herself went to a dangerous place. That means she voluntarily consented for the risk. She had voluntarily taken the risk. So therefore, she cannot complain today and claim for damages. That's the answer here. Okay. So relate the question to the options given and keeping in your mind the principle and the facts. Understood? You were lucky that you
Yes.
got the answer right here, but it might not happen in all the questions like that. Okay, got it?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you see the other options given, uh, they are not at all fixing to the question, like they're not apt with the question options. Okay, so the most appropriate answer would be this,
Yeah.
and you have to relate it to the principle. Okay, got it? Now let's move to the
Okay.
question number 2.
Yes.
I want you to read the principle, keep the principles in your head, because if you do that, in the third question when we come, you will easily come to the conclusion where you might have faced some problems. Okay,
Okay.
let's see question number 2.
Uh, Principle 1. For damages to be awarded, injury is the necessary and only requirement. Principle 2. Injury is said to have occurred if any part of the body of the person bringing the action is hurt. Principle 3. A person's property is deemed to be his body. Principle 4. Hurt is constituted if any part of the body stands severed from the rest of it.
Okay, now hold on. Now tell me in your fingers, like, which is the principle number 1, principle number 2, 3, 4 in your language, quickly.
So in principle 1, injury is the only necessity for to call it as a damage, so that the damages can be awarded. In principle 2, it is said that if any part of the body of the person, the victim is injured, it is you can bring it is an injury.
Okay,
In principle 3, the person's property is also his body. So any part of his property that is damaged
is also
is yeah.
okay.
And principle 4 is that if like any part of the body is severed from the rest of the body,
Mm-hmm.
that is also injurious, and that would also constitute as damage.
Okay, where is it written in principle number 4 that it would also be considered as damage?
The hurt is constituted, so that is
Mm-hmm.
the other.
Uh-huh. Tell me. You're right.
It's
I'm
like
just asking you how.
inferred from the other principles.
Okay.
Like in the principle 2, injury is said to have occurred,
Mhm.
so that would be damage. So hurt is constituted if any part of the body stands
No, no.
severed.
Let's go back. You
So
said
that
no. Hold on. Hold on. What did you say about principle number 2? Repeat.
injury is said to have occurred if any part of the body is
Don't read. Don't
body of the
read
person.
that. I'm asking you what you have understood.
Uh, like in the second one and the 2, 3, 4,
Mm-hmm.
all of them are talking about if the property or the body is damaged.
Mm-hmm.
So that would constitute as a damage for which damages can be awarded. So even if a part of the body is severed, that is also hurt,
That's also her.
which can be which is also damage to the
Okay.
body.
Okay. How much you've explained me, it was very well done. But if you practice little more, you would be able to give little better answer, and then you would be able to solve questions more effectively, like more nicely. Now let's see principle number 1. Okay, now I will explain you how to tell someone when someone is asking you, okay, what is the principle about. In the first principle, we see it talks about that for claiming damages, what is necessary? Injury is necessary, right? In the second principle, if we go, they are talking about injury. What is injury? So see, when I put these headings as, you know, this is this, that puts a clear in a very, you know, structured manner. The first is about damages, for which the injury is important. The second one talks about injury, and it says that if any part of your body is hurt, okay, any action that is causing hurt. Then third principle, you have correctly stated that property is also the deemed to be the body. That's absolutely fine. Now the last one, as you correctly pointed out, that this is in relation to the other two principles, rightly said, but you could not relate it very well. What is the fourth principle saying? It says hurt is constituted if any part of the body stands severed from the rest. Now, before this, we found the word hurt in principle number 2, which is talking about injury. And if we go to the first principle, it says that where there is an injury, there you can get the damages. Simple. Isn't it simple? So now why did I simplify it? It is because now when the questions will come, and before also it used to happen, there are times when principles are lengthy. If you are able to break it in short, if you are able to tell someone, teach someone, that means you have a complete understanding of it. So when you prepare and study, what you have to do, you have to read the principle and just imagine that you are telling someone that this is the principle. And try to make shortcuts in your copy. Like if you write damages, straight line, injury, and write bracket necessity as you stated. So what are you doing? You're making short symbols or short language for the principles. Okay. Immediately when you go to the question paper, you will have some sense of clarity while solving it. Okay. Now let's go to the facts. Is it clear about principle, that how you have to study it and how you have to like bring it down to
Yes.
small points?
Yeah.
Okay, now let's go to facts. Read out the facts.
Ram and Shyam were hurt by their sister as she did not play with them one evening.
Okay.
In consequence of this, Ram and Shyam decided to boycott their sister. Further, when they saw their sister continuing to play with others, they decided that a lesson need to be taught to her. They got together, took their sister's doll, which was her property, and removed its clothing. The sister was furious and complained to their father. The father of these children, being not one to take the law in his own hands, decided to file a civil suit.
Now let's go to question number 1.
In which of the following cases has injury occurred? Ram and Shyam have suffered injury. No, because that was just emotional injury. So it's not the injury that's stated in the principles.
Very well.
The doll has suffered injury. No, because the doll is a non-living thing. The sister has suffered injury as she was the owner of the doll.
Okay.
That is according to principle 3. A person's property is deemed to be his body.
Okay.
So in this case, the sister has suffered the damage,
Okay.
The injury.
Very well.
So C will be the correct answer.
And the last one is the father has suffered injury.
The father has suffered because as all that belongs to the children is actually his. But in the facts, it is stated that it is her property,
Okay, fine.
the sister's property.
Very well. Now let's move to question number 2. Good. See,
Which of the following
continue. I'll tell you later. That's all.
Which of the following constitute body as per rules given above? Emotions of brother and brothers, no. Emotions of sisters, no. The physical body of the 3 siblings and their dolls. This will be body.
Which one?
This is given in principle 2 and 3.
Principle 2 and 3.
That
now
injury is
try to explain me your answer in just 2 lines. Be precise.
okay. Emotion is not constituted as part of a body, and according to the principle, only the property and the body of the individual has to be injured for damages to be awarded.
Very well done. Now that's the answer. Okay, correctly said. Very good. Now let's go to next question.
Who has been hurt in the above fact situation? The doll as it constitutes body. The doll, no, not the doll. The sister as her property was hurt. This will be the correct answer. The father as his children got into such an acrimonious situation. No, because that according it's not connected to the principles. And the facts are not clear. This is not right.
Okay.
The sister has been damaged.
Okay. Now tell me what is the why do you say that the answer is 2 in just 1 line?
Because the doll has been injured.
The
The
doll.
doll has been hurt, which is the sister's property, and the a person's property is part of his body.
Principle number 3. Very well done. Now, in this particular question, I saw a word which is little bit strange. Strange as in we don't use in daily language. Now, that's called acrimonious. Now, what is the meaning of acrimonious?
I think it means I am not sure.
See, now that's the trick here. I am not taking your English class, but what happens in our life is that whenever we read anything and we come across anything that we are not very sure, immediately Google it. Immediately. That very second. Because once we leave it, it's just gone. And when you have sheets like this, you can just write it next to it, or you can just write in a copy if you're reading on a computer that the meaning of acrimonious is this. Now, I'm not going to tell you acrimonious meaning. You're only going to tell me by reading the line that what its meaning can be, and you're going to Google it on your own. Because if I tell you, you'll forget. I want you to Google it and tell me.
So according to the sentence, I think it's a situation in it's like a sort of weird situation which
We are in 21st century. We are the millennials and the post-millennials. We cannot put everything as weird. But, right?
it's like a situation in which both the parties are emotionally hurt and they are angry with each other.
Okay. Now, I'll leave it here. I want you to find it on your own. Should I give you 1 minute? Will you Google it right now?
Yeah.
Google it.
Adjective typically of speech or angry or bitter.
Right. Now, what did you say? Emotional or something like that. That's okay. Now, see, I was checking because whether you have searched on your own before, discussing with the question paper that you knew the meaning of not. Remember, whenever I will teach and any word or anything, any phrase I will come across, I will ask you. Okay. Now, what I want you to do is from this word is that you have to find out the how this word is made. You have to understand. In Hindi, we say it's sandhi vichhed. But in English, you have to also find out the conjunction, like how it has been formed. Because once you know the conjunction of the words, you can easily guess the word's meaning. So every word is made up of some common words, right? Try to find out. If you find anything that would be helpful for you. If you don't find anything, you can always write a mail on the Lawpreneurs website by putting me in the subject and I'll definitely answer. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. That we can do, but you have to do this as a homework so that you don't forget.
Yes.
Because this is the way we will prepare for English also. When we study law, English should be our good part because your language is going to make you different in the court. Okay. Now we'll work on that too.
Yes.
Not that I'm super in that. I'm also working along with you. So we'll learn together. Okay. Now let's go to question number 8.
Yes. In which of the following cases may damages be awarded?
Okay.
The two brothers deserve damages. No, because their body was not injured.
Very well.
The sister is entitled to damages due to the emotional scarring which her brothers caused. No, she doesn't deserve it because of the emotional scarring.
Okay.
The father is entitled to damages as he had to undergo immense emotional scarring. This is also not the body. The sister is entitled to damages.
Question number C, read the full sentence.
Sorry?
Question, point C.
The father is entitled to damages as he had to undergo immense emotional scarring due to the garrulous behavior of the children.
Google it. Difficulty even in reading it. So that means that was ignored while reading the sheet. Come on, Google it.
It means excessively talkative, especially on trivial matters.
Yes. Got it? And what you have to do today is you have to
Yes.
write down in your copy these two new words, and either either you can talk to your mama by making two sentences out of these two words and just put it in your daily practice. Okay. Now these are two words. Now this is your English practice. Okay. Now we'll move to the next. B.
Yes. The sister is entitled to damages as only the injury received by her doll is compensable in law. So this is the correct answer because the doll
Yes.
is her property and it is her body
Very
which has been injured.
very nice. Now let's go to the last question.
Principle 1. When a person is accused of a crime in one country and is found in another country, the process of transferring such a person from the country where he is found to the country where he is accused of the crime is known as extradition.
Okay, hold on. Now
Principle 2.
little
Extradition.
this is little tricky. So we will deal one principle and then we will go to the second principle. Now you have to tell me what is
Okay.
principle number 1 in your language.
It is the definition of extradition.
Mm-hmm.
Where so that means if a person has committed a crime somewhere and he's accused of the crime,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like run away and found in another country, so transferring him from the country where he is found to the country where he is accused is known as extradition.
Very well, very good. Now tell me one of the most recent example of a person, like one person who around whom this topic is going on in India.
I think Nirav Modi
And very well.
and once Vijay Patil.
Vijay Patil.
Malia.
Malia. Okay, and
Forgot
Nirav
his
Modi
name.
was dealing with which bank? Okay, now this is not
Punjab and Maharashtra something.
okay. Now this is the GK part. Now GK part also, if we come across anything, we will also study that. Note down in your copy or a sheet that you want to find out the two persons you've correctly pointed out. Now you have to tell me which bank, they did this scam in which bank. And there's a series available on Netflix, which is that Big Bad Billionaires. When you get free time and you're not studying, you can watch that. It talks and it discusses about all the 4 people who have committed some or the other offenses related to the same and have run away. Okay, something like that. Okay, on the same lines, you have to read about that. Now that's extradition, you'll get a clarity about it. And then see, what we have to do is we have to get connected to the topics. And how do we connect it? By what is happening in our surroundings. So in our surroundings is rightly pointed out that you came across Nirav Modi and Vijay Malia as you in this lifetime of yours, right? So we will connect to them. Now what is happening with them, we will read about it. So in your free time you have to read it. You have to send a short note to me on Lawpreneurs by putting my name as subject. Okay, that's your another homework.
I don't know how to do that. Is that in that contact?
See, there's this mail ID
How?
info@lawpreneurs.com. There you can mail. You just put me.
Oh, so I have to email it to you.
You just
Okay.
email it to me. They will forward it to me, and I will answer you.
Okay.
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 Okay. Now let's move to principle 2. Okay.
Extradition is possible only when a treaty of extradition exists between the country where he is found and the country to which he is extradited.
Mm-hmm.
Like suppose someone goes to a country where the treaty of extradition isn't signed, they cannot. The person cannot be extradited even if he's found.
Okay. Very good. Fine. Now principle number 3.
Extradition is possible only when the accused are free from any legal proceedings in the country they are found in.
Okay. Now let's This is fine. You want to explain me?
If they have committed crimes in both the countries,
Okay.
so then they have to be uh, judged in the country first, and then they can be extradited.
Okay, very good. Now let's go to the facts. Very well. You explained me the principles very well.
Facts: George Shobraj is an internationally notorious criminal. He is a citizen of Vietnam. He came to India and committed a few murders in India. He then escaped to Nepal, where he was arrested.
Okay.
Can India ask for extradition? Uh, yes, India should ask for trial to be conducted in. C. Extradition is possible only if India has treaty with Nepal.
This is by principle number
2.
2. Very well. Now see, one thing while you are reading this question and when you read the facts, you should try to conclude or to make your facts in such a way that you don't have to go back to look at the facts deeply. What I want to say is that when I read the sentence that Mr. George Shobraj was citizen of Vietnam, so I write Vietnam, I put an arrow, then I write that India, and then I put another arrow and I make it Nepal. And under Vietnam, I will write citizen. Now, this is a short form of the whole facts. I don't have to go back and look into it. Did you do this while studying?
No.
Okay, from next time you're gonna do this. Okay, and you're gonna tell me that how
Okay.
easier it is for you now to solve questions. You cannot break
Okay.
down all the lines, but the lines which can be, shortened down should be done. Okay,
Okay.
now let's go to question number 10.
Assuming India has a treaty with Nepal, but George is accused of 2 murders in Nepal also, what should Nepal do?
Okay,
They should extradite him to India, Vietnam. They should extradite him to India after they have tried him for the crimes in Nepal and made him serve his sentence, if any. C.
see, okay, bye.
According to Principle 3, because here he has committed murders in Nepal and in India.
Very good.
And since he's found in Nepal, he will first be tried in Nepal.
Okay, very good. Question number 11.
Modifying the fact situation, if he is a citizen of Nepal who has never been to India but masterminded the murders from Nepal, can he be extradited assuming a treaty exists? Yes, he can be extradited. No, he cannot be extradited. I don't know this one because he has never. I think it is yes, he can be extradited because he has still committed the crimes.
Okay, let's see.
Even
What the
if
question
he's the
is. Tell me the
mastermind.
question in short. Like, what is the question about?
He is a citizen of Nepal, so Vietnam is out of the story. And he has masterminded the crimes in India from Nepal, but he's never been here.
Right.
So, if he can be extradited to India, if the treaty exists, and the treaty exists according to the situation.
You're saying treaty exists. Where is it? Assuming a treaty exists.
Assuming a treaty.
Okay. Now, why don't you know the answer of this question?
Because he has never been to India.
Okay, now let's go back to principle.
So,
read the principle number 1, first line.
when a person is accused of a crime in one country and is found in another country,
Hold on.
the process of transferring.
Hold on. Now let's see what Mr. Shobraj has done. In the question, it says that this person was a citizen of Nepal. He's sitting there, okay, and he is what? He must have masterminded the crime. That what he must have done? He must have said, okay, Nishtha and Giselle are sitting in India and they will commit such and such offense. But who is the mastermind behind this? Like, who is involved in this conspiracy? Mr. Shobraj.
Mr. Joe, yes.
Now let's go to the principle 1, first line. It says when a person is accused of a crime. Mr. Shobraj is accused of a crime. Okay. He's accused in India that he's the
Yes.
mastermind behind the certain offense committed by through Giselle and Nishtha. Right? So that means
Yes.
he has committed an offense in India and he is sitting in Nepal. So whose law he has violated? India's law, because he has committed an offense in India, whether it can be bank offense or any offense, anything. He has done it in India. So now he is the criminal of for India and he's sitting in Nepal.
Okay.
So of course he can be extradited from there. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
And they're also saying that there is a treaty that exists.
Hmm.
Got it?
Yeah.
Now let's go to question number 2.
Yes. In the fact situation above, assume India has no extradition treaty at the time he is captured, but later they sign an extradition treaty. Is an extradition possible? No, he can be extradited. B.
Okay. Is it,
Because
do you have doubt in this question, particular question?
no,
In the fact
really.
situation above, assume India has no extradition treaty with Nepal at the time he is captured. Okay. But later they sign an extradition treaty. Is the extradition possible? Okay. This is more about.
Yes.
Okay. Now this you have to see by seeing principle number 2. What does principle number 2 says? Okay, before I tell you the answer, you have to tell me why did you select the answer that you selected and why did you do that? What answer? Your answer is?
He can be B.
Okay, why do you say that he can be extradited?
Because it says that extradition is possible only when a treaty of extradition exists between the country where he is found and the country where he has to be extradited.
Okay.
So he cannot be, I think he cannot be extradited before the treaty is signed, but like he can be kept in custody in Nepal. So when the treaty is signed, then he can be extradited.
Okay, okay. Now this is something that you have assumed. Did you look at the answer first and then marked it, or were you wrong?
No.
You were right. The first go.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Then you have correctly said it. See here, what you have done is you thought about it in a way. What you have done is principle number 2. You have focused upon that and you've thought, okay, they're talking about existing treaty. So yes, yes, the treaty exists today. Sorry. So yes, the treaty exists today. And therefore, you aptly put it. Now, there might be students or there might be sometimes where we would have thought, okay, this is not there. The treaty is not there. It cannot be. The treaty should have been there. We can also think about that. Now, that would have been going away from the principle. I'm glad that you did not go away from the principle. Okay. You only focused upon that line that extradition is possible only when the treaty exists. That's the only meaning. Treaty is there? Yes, extradited. And you remained focused to that. Okay, so you've done it very nicely, Giselle. I'm very happy from your performance because this is the first sheet that we are discussing and your performance is good because you know the
Thank you,
art.
ma'am.
You know the art, how to apply it. It's just that slowly when you will see the videos, you will read more about it. You will know what? You will know the concepts and you will aptly put it. Okay. Now, what is the homework from today's class is that the English words that you have studied today, you have to read them. You have to find out. You have to find the conjunction from where it is coming. Second thing, what was the second homework regarding extradition? Did I give you one homework now?
Yeah, about
about
find out the bank.
Yeah, find out the news about that. When you will find out about that, you will read more about extradition and you will get to know about this topic. Okay. Now, apart from that, voluntary non-fit injuria, you don't need to read now. You will read it when you will come to that topic. So you don't need to be extra burdened by that. But okay. Otherwise, you've done very well. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. See you soon, Giselle. Let me know any doubt. Just forward me. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.